For all my academic life, I was so focused on catching up with my peers as my grades fell. In junior college, I remember I forced myself to study so hard every single day to 3, 4 a.m. I lost 7 kg in 2 months because I was either needing to sleep because I was so tired during break time or just do more work because I kept feeling like I wasn't doing enough. I was working myself to the bone because I didn't want to lose out on the success that I was sold to society by, the success that I thought I needed to have, which is to get a good job, to earn money, earn good money, to get married by a certain age, to buy a house, to have kids by a certain age. And I kept feeling like I was running this race, this never-ending race that no matter how hard I try, I was always like a couple steps behind. And the thing was that the finishing line didn't entice me. Actually, finishing the race wasn't exciting to me. I was running not because I wanted to finish the race, but because I was afraid of being left behind. I was afraid of being deemed a failure. Until one day, I just asked myself, who am I lagging behind? Whose timeline am I living on? And I realized that I shouldn't be living on anyone's timeline but my own. There were a couple of principles that really helped me throughout the years when I felt like I was lagging behind. I have 4 principles that I want to share in this video today. And the first principle is you are on nobody's timeline. You're on nobody's timeline but your own. Don't let louder voices on the outside distract you from the inner voice trying to speak to you on the inside. You don't need to get that promotion. You don't need to get married by a certain age or to get a house by a certain age, to earn a certain amount of money by a certain age. You don't even need to do all of those things because those are standard practices. Because life isn't even on a timeline. It's a blank canvas given to you. And you can paint, you can cut it to make a dress, you can make a tent, you can make origami, you can do whatever you want with this blank canvas. For all my academic life, I was so focused on catching up with my peers as my grades fell, and I was constantly measuring my self-worth according to these standards and these criteria that society had. I felt like a defect. I felt like I would screw up my life and amount to nothing. If you ever feel like you're lagging behind, ask yourself these 2 questions. The first question is, what race do you feel you need to run? And the second question is, who created these rules for the race? Who created the criteria and the standard? When I asked myself these questions, I realized that I was running the race that I was told I needed to run. Get a good job by 23, get married by 28, you get the picture. But this race wasn't something I was excited about. I was more running the race because I was afraid of losing out. I was afraid of losing face. I was afraid of judgment, as opposed to actually being excited about finishing the race. The race I want to run, right? The perfect life for me is waking up doing work that I enjoy, having freedom to do creative work, to work with people. And when I changed my focus from outward comparison to looking inwards to self-discovery, I realized that my gifts were in speaking, in working with people, in creating. I realized that my perfect life didn't look like the life I was told that I should have. Now, coming to terms with that was necessary for me to remove that feeling of catching up and instead define my own journey. It's not easy. It's not easy to have to come to terms with that. It's not easy to accept that the kind of life that I want to live, that I truly want to live, is different from what I was told I should live. Because people already have the formula for that success. Like, people have that formula. Now, if I don't want to take that formula, that means that I needed to write my own story. I needed to design my own life. I needed to find out how I want to live my own life. Now, that is tough. It's so much easier to get that formula as opposed to dig deeper to ask myself what I really want. But I knew that in the long term, if I wanted to be happy, I needed to define what success is for myself. I needed to stop running on other people's timeline and start defining my own journey. Now, knowing the life you want to live is so important so that you can make the decisions to create the life that you want to live. Nowadays, social media is, really promoting the life of digital nomading, remote working, and it sounds glamorous and fun, but truthfully, if it's not your dream, it is 100% okay. Everybody has different priorities. For some people, it is building a business, it's creating wealth. For some people, it's just having a more simple life and putting their energy with their kids, wanting to be a full-time mom. Now, it is completely okay to have a life that you want that is not the life that is promoted on social media. It's important to know what's the life that you want. One of my clients shared with me how she imagines herself working in a corporate environment in an office as part of her dream life. And that's great, that's fine. Now you need to know how to own your voice and understand what you want. Otherwise, you'll start living on the timeline of others. You're on nobody's timeline but your own. It's important to know what's the life that you want and start crafting your own life. Because that's what I did in order for me to stop feeling like I needed to catch up and removing that guilty, shameful feeling of being left behind. The second principle that's helped me so much is this: nothing is ever a waste of time. Everything that you do is building towards a bigger goal, whether you know it or not. So what you want to do is to lean into your inner voice and let it guide you. Now, if I were to divide my life so far into phases, it would be this. I started emceeing at 15 years old. I entered university studying communications. And then I had my whole radio phase between 20 to 22 years old. This is when I felt like my dream was to be a radio DJ. So I joined a radio competition when I was, 20 years old, was top 8. Then got kicked out at the top 4 and didn't make it. And then I was asked to be a contract radio producer for one of the top radio stations in Singapore, which I was really, really excited about. And I thought that this was my calling. And then I got fired really brutally over the phone as I was sitting at a Starbucks. And then I joined a sales job and I sold consumer goods like soap. I met my first coach and mentor who introduced me to personal development. I listened to my first podcast. And I thought that was the one business platform that I'm going to use to create passive income and lead me to financial freedom. And this was it. But I ended up quitting in 4 years. And I did lots of freelance training in schools. I was teaching study skills at one point, right? I needed to literally memorize 30 pages of a script. And I was teaching the program and I had to perform it to the kids. And study skills had nothing to do with my area of expertise, nor is it an area that I was really passionate about at all. I wasn't really excited about the content that I was teaching, to be honest. But it allowed me to learn certain skill sets that I needed to have. Every single phase of my life grew my skill set. It gave me perspectives I needed. It strengthened my relationship with my inner voice, and it led me to doing what I'm doing today. And it may seem like all these things I didn't connect. Teaching study skills, from, selling soap. But throughout my life phases, I've naturally done one thing: connecting with people. That was the thing that was a similarity. I love connecting with people. I've always done work that involves building relationships with people, storytelling, and offering them perspectives that make them see themselves in a different light. If I didn't join network marketing, I wouldn't have met my first coach and mentor who opened my eyes to the possibilities of working outside a corporate job. And if I didn't join the radio industry, then I wouldn't be grossly exposed to how surface level I feel and shallow I feel the state of our media is today, which is what inspired me to create content that uplifts, encourages, and offers new way of thinking. Nothing ever is a waste of time. When we think that anything is a waste of time, we lose the opportunity to learn. Which leads me to principle number 3. Lagging behind is an opportunity to know yourself better. Now, throughout my academic life, I find myself struggling to have to work hours longer than my peers and still feel like I was getting an average grade. And I would constantly beat myself up, wondering why that's the case, wondering why I was lagging behind. What I needed to do was to stop beating myself up and start getting curious in understanding what is the resistance. Why am I lagging behind? Why do I not feel excited when I was studying. I asked myself, okay, Ray, why are you lagging behind? And my answer was, well, truthfully, I just don't feel excited about what I'm studying. Why don't you feel excited? Because I feel like I need to study in order to compete with the rest of my batchmates to get a good job. And I don't feel any job like especially exciting to me. I don't feel energized by the idea of working in an office. Then, okay, I asked myself, what excites you then? Well, I love doing work where I can meet people. I love being on stage. So how can you do work you love now? And back then I was 21, so I thought, how can I do freelance work that allows me to work with people, that is on and allows me to be on stage? And that's why I did more hosting of events. I did more training in schools. That is why at any point in time, you find yourself lagging behind. Instead of beating yourself up, really ask yourself, what is my mind, body, spirit, and soul trying to communicate to me? How can I learn from this experience? How can I make the best out of where I'm planted? Because those questions really helped me stop putting myself down from feeling like I'm lagging behind and start doing things that make me happy, doing things that make me actually want to move forward in excitement as opposed to being pushed by fear. And last but not least, the fourth principle that helped me a lot whenever I feel like I'm lagging behind is this: taking the longer route is sometimes the more scenic route. So I want to share with you a story. Okay, so I was walking with one of my mentors, Avi, in Botanic Gardens one day. He gave me a task. His task was to direct both of us from gate A of the park to gate B of the park without looking at the map or any signages at all. So I had to follow my intuition. Now, this is the first time I'm meeting this mentor of mine, right? And he is a global speaker with years of stage experience, and he gets paid 4 to 5 figures, speaking for an hour. And I thought, okay, I need to direct us well. So I started walking, and 2 minutes later, we ended up at the exact same spot. Basically, we just walked one round. And so he asked me, okay, Ray, what is an observation that you made as you were walking the past few minutes? And I replied, I don't know. I was kind of just focused on leading us to a destination. I was just walking. And he replied this: you were so concerned about your destination that you didn't learn anything in your journey there. Life is not about the destination itself, but is how the journey towards the destination grow you to become the person that you're meant to be. And as I look back in my life, I realized that it was the failures, the disappointments, the rejections that not only grew me as a person, but allowed me to better connect with people well. I became more interesting. I became more relatable. Okay, if I didn't go through all those challenges and those rejections, I really don't think I'll be able to be the storyteller and the coach that I am today. I wouldn't be able to even make this video because my life will be too perfect. I've been in Vietnam for a month now and traveling to a couple of cities within Vietnam. When we were traveling from Mui Ni to Dalat, which is basically from one town in Vietnam to the other, we decided to travel by a sleeping bus instead of an airplane. And the bus actually took us 4 hours. Even though the flight was only 1 hour long, we decided to take a bus. And along the way, I saw beautiful mountains, fields with cattle. I saw really cute houses. And I wouldn't be seeing all of that if I just took the plane. Here's the thing, nobody wants to take the long route, ever. Nobody plans to have to get bumps and hit through walls and have detours. Nobody plans for that. But if there's anything that I've learned from traveling, through 20 towns across Asia in this past 6 months, it is this: you can do your best planning, but unexpected things happen. Instead of whining and being upset about it, why not make the best out of it and enjoy the adventure? There are many times that as I was traveling, we miss a turn or we end up at the wrong place, but we'll end up finding some random alley and it will lead us to great food or great discoveries. And that is the same for life as well. Sometimes you may think that you're taking the longer route. You might think that. But actually, that's the route that you're meant to travel on. The universe is simply leading you to where you're meant to be. I think at the end of the day, The key is to know how to balance between taking control and learning to surrender. We can plan what we can, but we have to surrender what we can't. And one principle that my dad has told me since young is this: anything that's meant to be yours will not pass you by. You can lag behind, you can take the longer route, but the opportunities that are meant to be yours, the place that you're meant to be, will not pass you by. You will get there eventually. And I believe that the universe and my intuition will lead me to where I'm meant to walk towards. And every step of the way, I'm being led by this force of my intuition, by the force of the universe, because it has certainly led me to where I am today, where I'm the most happy and I'm the most fulfilled. I think 5 years ago, Ray was wondering, oh my God, where am I being led to? Where am I moving towards? I feel good for nothing. If there's anything that I would tell 5 years ago, Ray, is this: Ray, enjoy the journey. You are going towards the right place. You will love where you end up 5 years from now. And I don't know what's next, right? Who knows? Maybe 5 years from today, when I'm 30 years old, I'll be doing something completely different, and I don't know. And that's the amazing thing about life, is you can't screw up your life if you're just following your intuition, if you're listening to your feelings. You can't screw up your life. As long as every step of the way you're making decisions that are aligned to you, you will end up where you're meant to be. So keep doing what energizes you. Even if it's not your full-time job, carve out time to do what fuels you. And you'll find that you won't worry so much about lagging behind, because you're so focused on living your life. And so this is my message to you if you feel like you're lagging behind. Just know that you're exactly where you're meant to be right now. Enjoy the journey and always lean into your intuition and let that inner voice guide you. If this was relatable to you, do share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear more about what fuels you. Do you ever feel like you're lagging behind? What do you think about the points that I shared over here in this video? I'd love to hear your thoughts and principles that guide you in living your life. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!